The movie begins by introducing us to a girl named Jody, who works at a gas station. As part of her job, Jody interacts with different kinds of people every day. Exactly at 12 o'clock midnight, she turns off the lights of the gas station and starts preparing to close it for the night. Just then, a car pulls up outside the station. Jody is about to lock the door, but before she can do so, a man walks inside. Jody tells this man, whose name is Bernie, that the gas station is already closed. Bernie calmly replies that it's okay and says he only needs a packet of pie. Jody tells him that he can find it near the pastry section and politely asks him to hurry up. Bernie then asks if he can use the bathroom as well. Saying this, he takes the bathroom key and walks away. After coming out of the bathroom, Bernie goes to pick up the pie packet. At that very moment, another man enters the store wearing a helmet. This man asks Jody for a lottery ticket. As Jody starts taking out the lottery tickets, the helmeted man suddenly pulls out a gun and points it at her. He orders her to quickly put all the cash into a plastic bag. Jody, terrified, starts filling the bag with cash. The helmeted man then jumps over the counter and begins taking money from the safe as well. During this, Jody notices that Bernie has also stepped forward and is now standing at the counter with a gun in his hand. The helmeted man's eyes fall on the mirror behind the counter, and through the reflection, he spots Bernie. Suddenly, the helmeted man stands up and fires at Bernie. The bullet hits Bernie in the head, killing him on the spot. The helmeted man then pushes Jody aside and runs out of the store. While escaping, the bag filled with money falls down and tears open. The man quickly stuffs the loose cash into Bernie's bag and flees the scene. Jody immediately presses the alarm, and within moments, the police arrive at the gas station. The gas station owner, Wally, also reaches the scene and asks Jody whether the robber took all the money. Jody tells him that the man emptied both the safe and the counter. Hearing this, Wally gets angry and tells Jody to go home, saying they will talk the next day. Jody leaves the gas station and heads back to her house. When Jody opens the door to her home, she is shocked to see a bag lying in the middle of the room. It is the same bag that the helmeted man had snatched from Bernie while escaping. Nervously, Jody walks closer to the bag and opens it. Inside, she finds it completely filled with bundles of cash. Suddenly, a voice warns her not to move at all. Jody looks up and sees a young man sitting inside the bathtub with a gun in his hand. This is the same man who came to the gas station wearing a helmet. His name is Eddie. Jody and Eddie look at each other and start laughing, revealing that the gas station robbery was actually planned by both of them together. The movie then shifts to 3 months earlier. Jody is traveling on a bus when Eddie comes and sits in the seat in front of her. Eddie tells her that he knows her and says her name is Jody Jackson, mentioning that they went to the same school. Jody is surprised and asks if he is Eddie, and he confirms it. The two begin talking about their school days. Later, they go to a restaurant for lunch. Eddie asks Jody what she does for a living. Jody replies that she once wanted to become a singer and an actress, but currently she works at a gas station. Eddie jokingly asks her to sing something right there. Jody refuses politely and instead asks what Eddie does. Eddie bluntly says that he is a crook. Jody asks what that means, and Eddie explains that he steals from people by bumping into them and taking their wallets and jewelry. He also steals cars. Eddie then sells all the stolen items to another man. Right in front of Jody, Eddie steals and earns $500. Seeing this, Jody says that Eddie earns in 1 hour what she makes in an entire week. While talking, Eddie starts singing and encourages Jody to sing as well. When Jody begins singing, her voice is so beautiful that Eddie stops and stares at her in awe. He realizes that Jody has an incredible singing talent. Eddie then takes Jody to the house of a man named Romeo. Romeo asks Eddie what he wants. Eddie asks if the studio behind his house is still there. Romeo gets angry and yells at Eddie, accusing him of taking his money earlier. Eddie shows him the cash, which calms Romeo down. Romeo opens the door and says that if Eddie pays him, he will arrange some work in the studio so they can record a song. Eddie gives Romeo $500. Romeo notices Jody and asks if she is with Eddie. Eddie introduces her as Jody, but Jody says that her stage name is Cinnamon. Eddie asks why she chose the name Cinnamon. Jody explains that when she was a child, her mother once accidentally used cumin instead of cinnamon while making French toast. Jody was allergic to cumin, which caused her mouth to swell badly. Later in school, a woman once brought churros for the class. All the children were excited but scared to eat them. Jody took a stick from the plate and confidently ate it, which made the other kids cheer for her. That moment made her feel brave, and since Cinnamon made her feel fearless, she chose it as her stage name. Eddie takes Jody into Romeo's studio, but Eddie notices that Romeo has not properly renovated it. Eddie argues that Romeo took $500 for the renovation, but Romeo says that this is all that could be done with that amount. As they argue, Jody steps in and says she likes the studio setup. Cinnamon then sings a song she has written herself. Romeo does not like her singing style at first. Eddie pulls Jody aside and tells her not to worry about whether people like her song or not. He asks her to close her eyes, believe in herself, and sing. Jody follows his advice, and this time everyone loves her performance. Later, Jody is at Eddie's house. Eddie orders pizza, and as Jody comes closer, Eddie kisses her. The two become intimate. Afterward, Eddie asks Jody what she thinks about going to LA. Jody asks why. Eddie explains that it is for her career. He plans to save money, take her to LA, meet people from the music industry, and promote her singing. He estimates they will need around $30,000 for 1 year. Jody says she has no money, but Eddie tells her that he is her manager and will arrange the $30,000 himself. Jody agrees to his plan. We then see Eddie stealing money to save up. One day, a man whose watch Eddie stole recognizes him and chases him along with his friend. Later, when Jody meets Eddie, she sees bruises on his face. The men beat Eddie and stole all his money. As Jody applies bandages to Eddie's wounds, Eddie says that they have lost everything and are back to where they started. Jody replies that she cannot waste her entire life like this. She has awakened a desire to do something meaningful and is ready to do anything to achieve her dreams. Eddie tells her that he will find a way. Later, Eddie and Jody sit together, and Jody suggests committing one big robbery at once. Eddie says it is extremely risky. Jody then asks, what if the risk is actually very low? Jody explains to Eddie that a large amount of cash comes into her gas station every day. There is also a safe built into the floor behind the counter, where the owner, Wally, keeps all his cash. Most of the time, Wally leaves the safe unlocked so that the armored truck can easily collect the money. Eddie asks how much cash is usually inside the safe, and Jody tells him that it can be around $50,000. After this, Eddie and Jody begin practicing the robbery. Then one day, they finalize the plan. At closing time, Eddie arrives at the gas station to carry out the robbery. Unfortunately, Bernie is also present there that night. While Eddie is taking cash out of the safe, Bernie suddenly appears in front of him holding a gun. Standing at the counter, Jody subtly kicks Eddie's foot. Eddie turns around and sees Bernie reflected in the mirror. Eddie immediately stands up and shoots Bernie. Along with the gas station's money, Eddie also ends up taking Bernie's bag, which is filled with cash. Seeing so much money, Jody asks Eddie if they are safe now. Eddie says he doesn't know. Jody then tells him that she will continue going to work the next day as usual. If she suddenly quits, people might suspect her. She explains that after a few days, she will make an excuse and leave the job, saying that she is scared because the job is too risky. The movie then shifts to a time a few days before the robbery. We are shown a commercial shoot featuring Wally, where he is promoting his car showroom. That day is the opening day of the showroom. During the event, a man named James comes to meet Wally and asks to speak with him privately. Wally takes James into his office. James compliments Wally on his clothes and then reminds him of something from 4 years ago. He recalls how Wally came to his mother asking for money, promising that they would start a gas station together with a partnership split of 49% for James's family and 51% for Wally. James says that the gas station business did not bring much profit for them, but Wally became very rich. Wally responds by saying that the money came from his girlfriend, Heath. Hearing this, James is shocked and says that Heath used to work at their gas station. Wally explains further, saying that Heath's grandmother passed away a year ago. Heath herself may not have had money, but her family was wealthy and her grandmother loved her deeply. Heath's grandmother left $120,000 in cash deposited in the bank for Heath. Wally took that money, invested it, and made a huge profit. James says that Heath must have been very lucky for Wally. He then adds that Heath is white, and he admits that he hates white people. He explains why. His father was white and raped his mother when she was only 13 years old. His father later abandoned them and once hit his mother so badly on the head that she permanently lost her hearing. Because of this, James says he has hated white men his entire life. James then gets to the real reason for his visit. He says that since Wally has expanded the business so much, he should send them the remaining shares of the gas station. Saying this, James hands Wally a check. However, Wally refuses to sell his shares. Later, Wally receives a call at home informing him that a robbery has taken place at his gas station. He rushes there and asks Jody if the robber took everything. Jody confirms that the man took all the money, including the cash from the safe. Hearing this, Wally angrily tells Jody to go home. When Wally goes inside, he sees Bernie's dead body lying there. He realizes that Bernie was James's brother. Shocked, Wally immediately calls James and asks him to come to the gas station. James arrives and sees his brother's body. Overwhelmed with grief, he asks Wally where Bernie's bag is. Wally replies that Jody said the robber took everything. James then starts checking the shelves where the pie packets are kept. All the packets are still there, untouched. Seeing this makes James furious. He tells Wally that whatever happened was terrible and then leaves. Wally is confused and doesn't understand why James was so concerned about the pie packets. Next, James is shown standing outside a morgue. A woman arrives there to deliver pizza. James takes the pizza from her and pays her. As he is about to enter the morgue, a man named Ernest stops him and offers to take the pizza to his mother instead. James angrily tells Ernest that he is not his father, only his mother's husband. He says neither he nor Bernie is Ernest's son and warns him to stay out of their family matters. James goes inside the morgue, where his mother is sitting beside her son's body, crying. James hands her a slice of pizza, and she begins eating it while sitting there. In the next scene, Wally is shown at home. As he comes out of the bathroom, he sees that James is holding a gun to Heath's head. James's mother and her husband are also present. Wally, shocked, asks James why he is pointing a gun at her and suggests they sit down and talk calmly. He asks James what he can do for him. James says that both he and his mother believe that Wally was also involved in the gas station robbery. Wally immediately denies it, calling it nonsense. He says he had nothing to do with the robbery and that all the stolen money was insured, so the insurance company would cover the loss. Suddenly, James fires a shot at the table and starts shouting. He says he doesn't care about the money. He reveals the truth. Inside the pie packets at the store, they had hidden 3 kilograms of pure cocaine. Bernie had taken those packets and placed them inside his bag, which the robber unknowingly took with him. James says he doesn't care who the robber was. He wants his product back. If he doesn't get it, he will kill Heath. James then hits Heath on the head and ties Wally's hands with a belt. He signals to his mother, asking what should be done with Wally. James's mother then adjusts the left side of her glasses. James's mother closes the left lens of her glasses, signaling that Wally should be taken along with them. James then looks at his mother and silently asks about Heath. In response, James's mother opens and closes the right lens of her glasses, which clearly means that Heath should be killed. After this signal, James starts taking Wally outside with him. At the same time, Ernest, who is James's mother's husband, takes Heath inside the house. Without hesitation, Ernest fires a shot and kills Heath. The scene then shifts to the gas station, where Jody is present. Soon, several cars arrive, and James, his mother, and Ernest step out of the vehicles. They bring Wally inside the gas station and move into the office. Ernest casually talks to Jody and asks her if her name is Jody, then introduces himself as Ernest. He asks whether she saw or heard anything the previous night that could help them identify the robber. Jody apologizes and says that she was very scared and couldn't understand what was happening. Ernest then goes inside the office. James asks Wally to open the computer by entering the password, but Wally says he cannot remember it and fails to unlock the system. Seeing this, Ernest says he will go outside to fill petrol in the car. When Ernest tries to use his card at the fuel pump, it does not work. He comes back and tells Jody that the card is not being accepted. Jody explains that card transactions do not work there and that customers always pay in cash. Ernest asks since when this has been happening, and Jody replies that ever since she started working there, payments have always been in cash. Ernest then goes back inside and signals James and his mother, telling them that he has figured out how Wally steals money. James's mother signals back, telling them to cut off Wally's left hand. James places Wally's hand on the table, and James's mother strikes it with a knife. James asks Ernest how Wally steals money. Ernest explains that only cash payments are accepted at the petrol pump. When he filled a container with petrol, he paid for 1.5 gallons, and the meter also showed 1.5 gallons, but the actual amount of petrol in the container was much less. By rigging the machine, Wally steals up to 20 cents per gallon. James asks how much money Wally makes from this scam. Ernest replies that at 48 pumps, this adds up to around $4,000 per week, and despite a 49% partnership, Wally never gives them their share. Wally's hand is badly injured, blood keeps flowing, and he soon loses consciousness. Ernest says to leave him and suggests checking the surveillance footage instead. They start watching the footage from the night of the robbery. In the video, they clearly see Eddie bending down to take money from the safe when Bernie appears with a gun. Seeing Bernie, Jody kicks Eddie's shoe to alert him. Eddie immediately fires at Bernie. After watching this, Ernest goes outside and attacks Jody, trying to overpower her. James witnesses everything, and at the same time, Wally regains consciousness. Wally sprays pepper spray into James's mother's eyes and tries to escape. James runs after Wally, while Jody manages to fight off Ernest and also runs away. Jody reaches a construction site while running. Ernest arrives there in his car and catches her. Soon after, James arrives there as well, bringing Wally and his mother along. At that moment, James receives a call from one of his associates. The man tells James that he heard about the gas station robbery. He explains that a young man came to his friend to buy a car, and among the cash notes, there was one note stained with blood. He believes that the money came from the gas station robbery. James asks what the boy looked like. The man replies that the boy was around 20 to 25 years old, had an injury mark near his eye, and looked like a Mexican guy. James asks whether the boy left any address on the bill. The man says yes and sends it to him. After receiving the address, James tells Jody that at 85 South Victorian, he will find both his drugs and his money. Hearing this, Jody becomes extremely tense because that address belongs to Eddie. James then asks his mother what should be done with Jody. His mother signals that Jody should be taken along. James then asks about Wally, and his mother signals that Wally should be killed. James kills Wally right there and tells Ernest to take his mother and the girl back home while he goes to the boy's house, the one who stole their drugs. Next, we see Eddie talking to Romeo on the phone. Romeo tells Eddie that he has a gift for him and asks him to set an alarm for 5 a.m. the next morning and tune the radio to 98.7 FM. Eddie excitedly asks if Jody's song is going to be played on the radio. Romeo confirms that it will. Later, Eddie is at home. He throws trash into the dustbin through his window. At that moment, James is revealed standing behind Eddie with a gun. James tells Eddie that he knows him and accuses him of killing his brother. James demands to know where his drugs and money are, threatening to kill both Eddie and his girlfriend if he doesn't cooperate. Eddie points toward the money and tries to pick up his gun, but James immediately fires at Eddie. Eddie falls straight out of the window and lands inside a trash dumpster. After this, James calls Ernest and tells him that he didn't find the drugs with the boy. He explains that he did find a box, but inside it there were only pie packets. James says that he has killed the boy and is now returning home, adding that the girl must know something. Meanwhile, Ernest opens the trunk of the car and pulls Jody out. He notices that she has vomited all over the car. Ernest takes Jody to James's mother and gestures that the girl has vomited inside the vehicle. James's mother immediately signals back, indicating that the girl must be pregnant. James's mother calls Jody closer and places her hand on Jody's stomach, examining her. At that moment, Ernest, standing behind, says that they have killed her boyfriend but still haven't found the drugs. He asks Jody to tell them where they hid the drugs. Crying, Jody insists that she is telling the truth and that she knows nothing about the drugs. The scene then cuts back to Eddie, who is lying wounded at a trash dump yard. He is badly injured but still alive. Holding a gun, Eddie somehow manages to crawl out of the garbage pile. At the same time, the same pizza delivery girl arrives there and parks her car. She is the one who regularly delivers pizza for James. Eddie quietly climbs into the trunk of her car. Later, the girl drives to the pizza shop and opens the trunk. When she sees Eddie inside, she starts screaming loudly. She then brings Eddie into the pizza shop. The shop owner gets angry upon seeing Eddie and tells him that he looks like he needs a doctor. Eddie stops him and demands a cell phone and a first aid kit instead. Using the first aid kit, Eddie treats and bandages his wounds. After that, the delivery girl prepares to leave again to deliver a pizza. While checking the address, she says that the delivery location is quite far. The shop owner replies that this is the same person who ordered pizza at a morgue the previous day, asking her to think about who orders pizza at a mortuary. The delivery girl then mentions that before that, this same person had ordered pizza at a gas station, but when she went there, no one was present. Hearing this, Eddie asks her if she is talking about Wally's gas station. She confirms that she is. Eddie then asks what the man who ordered the pizza looked like. The girl describes him as a black man who looks like a cowboy and always wears a round hat on his head. Hearing this description, Eddie immediately realizes that this is the same man who shot him. Eddie pulls out his gun, points it at the delivery girl, whose name is Tony, and demands the pizza and her car. The scene cuts to James, who has reached home carrying a pie packet with him. Ernest asks if he got the money. James replies that he did, and that the money is in the car. Ernest sarcastically asks whether the pie packet is more valuable to him than the money. Just then the doorbell rings. Ernest says that it must be the pizza. James opens the door and takes the pizza from a man wearing a cap and jacket. As James tries to close the door, the delivery man holds it and stops it from locking. James walks inside with the pizza and tells Ernest if he wants to know what is inside the box. James opens the box and pours its contents onto the table, revealing that it contains drugs. James then tells Ernest and his mother that Wally was never smart enough to betray him. He explains that he decided to go to Wally's house to look for the drugs. James continues by saying that he assumed police would already be at Wally's house since Heath had been killed. But when he went there, He saw no police and noticed that the house lights were still on. He remembered that he had Wally's house key, which he had taken earlier. Using the key, he entered the house and found Heath standing there alive. James shot Heath on the spot and killed her. That was when James realized that Wally was not smart enough to cheat him. The real traitor was Ernest. James signals to his mother that her husband had betrayed them. He explains that he found 2 plane tickets at Heath's house, one in Heath's name and the other in Ernest's, both for the Bahamas. It is then revealed that when Ernest had earlier shot at Heath, he had actually fired at the wall and intentionally let her live. James points his gun at Ernest, who starts trembling in fear. As James prepares to shoot Ernest, Ernest is suddenly hit by a bullet himself. At the same moment, Eddie enters the house and shoots James's mother in the head, killing her instantly. Eddie is badly injured and collapses in front of James with James's gun pointed at him. James fires, but Eddie narrowly avoids the bullets. A violent hand-to-hand fight breaks out between James and Eddie. James pulls out a knife from his shoe and stabs Eddie in the leg, then knocks him down and presses on his wounds. In response, Eddie uses the knife in his hand to stab James in the leg. James falls directly onto the knife, and he dies on the spot. Now Ernest, James's mother, and James are all dead. Eddie searches the house for Jody, finds her, and takes her with him as they escape in James's car. Jody is driving when she notices a bag lying on the seat beside her. She opens it and sees that it is completely filled with bundles of cash. Jody tells Eddie that they finally have the money and that she will take him to the hospital. At that moment, Eddie receives a message from Romeo telling him to turn on the radio. Eddie asks Jody to switch on the car radio and tune it to 98.7 FM. As the radio starts playing, Jody hears her own song on air. She becomes extremely happy. Jody and Eddie look at each other and start laughing together. And with this, the movie comes to an end. So friends, if you've reached till here, that means you watched the full recap. Tell me honestly in the comments, how was your experience? Did this story surprise you, or did you already guess the twists? If you enjoyed this movie explanation, hit the like button and let's complete the target of 10,000 likes. Don't forget to share this video with your friends who love crime thriller movies, and subscribe to the channel for more full, detailed recaps like this.